Morning, everybody. Morning, it's morning for me, Sunday morning. And this is going to be a talky video. I'm going to show some things. It's going to be pickups. It's going to be some talking and some stuff that I've been doing that I'm pretty excited about. I will just see how it goes. The first thing that I need to discuss before I lose my thoughts on it is No Man's Sky. My YouTube feed has been flooded with No Man's Sky footage, and it's a game that I've been looking at for a long time, not from the beginning, but for a while, about half a year. And I recognized that the anticipation for what this game was going to be was very high. I've seen the same thing before for other games. People get very, very excited. But what I noticed is that there wasn't much information to go on. We weren't part of the development plans or the actual development. And we were left in the dark, left guessing what the game was going to be. So Hello Games had this monolithic way of distributing the game, developing it, in the sense that they went into their office and did the development and gave us a tidbit here and there and some gameplay, and but they didn't make us part of it. They didn't ask the player, what do you think of this? How do you think this should go? This is our plan for the future. You won't get this, you will get that. They didn't do any of that. So when you do this monolithic way of developing your game, you have one responsibility, and that is to manage the expectation. Which I'm sure they think they did, but we all know that I'm surprised by the fact that people weren't sure whether or not this was going to be a multiplayer game, that we actually have to wait for the release, the actual first gameplay, to find out that it's not a multiplayer game. That is a sin when your task is to manage expectations, right? They've been very unclear about that. And it's okay to not be sure about it, because making a multiplayer game like this, on the server side, is a hefty task, and it's not easy, especially for an independent developer, perhaps. So the way Frontier handled this is they didn't take the monolithic approach, but they invited players to play the game for them while they developed it. And they said, okay, it's going to be multiplayer, but it's not going to be first person. You're not going to get that. You're not going to be able to get out of your ship. Everybody knows what to expect. So this huge gap between what Hello Games intended and what was expected by the public has made people feel disappointed because their expectations weren't met. The thing is that when you manage expectations, it is equally important, what you say and what you don't say. If you don't say something, people are going to imagine things, and they're going to go by what you said in this interview and what it sounds like you were trying to say, and you get a whole big mess. And that's what we get now. We didn't get the huge hype of people being overly positive. If I look at the Steam reviews, they're mediocre. They're not so good overall. Now, I think perhaps, but I'm not sure, that Hello Games might have thought, they might have foreseen this happening, which is why they aimed so high in the initial price, 60 euros where I live. That's very expensive. I mean, I play Elite, and it has 3-4 times the depth of gameplay that No Man's Sky has, and it's cheaper, and it has multiplayer. So 60 euros is really high. And I thought, well, if you expect the disappointment after the release, but the hype is so high. You can ride that hype wave for a while. People are going to buy the game, and you'll have your money back. You'll have your investment back. Maybe that's how it works. I don't know. I have only watched gameplay. I haven't bought the game precisely for this reason, because I wanted to see what it was before I bought it. Now, what I've seen, I wanted it to be Elite Dangerous, but with the planetary landings, I must say No Man's Sky does that extremely well. It's very fluent. You can leave your planet once you've repaired your launch thrusters and you've gotten your fuel and everything. You can just go into space, and you can pick a planet or pick a system and pick a planet and go there. There are space ships, there are space stations, there are battles in space. You can shoot stuff, and you can land, and you can walk around. The environments are beautiful. The draw distance is really tiny, but okay, that's a design choice. But it looks amazing. It's very flat as well, because you can look at 15 different plants and they all give you carbon, and all of the cargo drops, the little red, they all have plutonium. After a while, I've watched about 8 hours of gameplay, and after a while, I'm not even expecting anything else anymore. If you want plutonium, you go to one of those red boxes. It always has plutonium in it. Maybe after 15 or 20 hours, things change. I don't know. But so it's very thin. And that's what people are complaining about. It's boring, they say, because you do the same. Sure, there's a different animal, but it's just the same animal, but it's got different legs on it or a different head. It's too flat in that sense. And that makes the player have to imagine much more of the story. And if you don't want that, if you just want a story, then No Man's Sky is going to be a disappointment, which is exactly why I didn't buy it, because I count on the fact that people buy it for $60 or £49 or whatever, and then get bored of it and then want to sell it. And that's where I come in, because I get it for less. Because I would buy... This game is not much different from Grav or Empyrean or Rust. It's a survival game. But the space thing, going into space, that is unique. That is unique. And I wish Elite had that. I wish Elite had the ease of landing on a planet and getting out. It doesn't. But it's made me look at Elite in a whole different way. I can spend 6-7 hours easily, if I have the time, in Elite, doing missions, landing on planets, driving around, doing stuff, fighting, defending. I can get into politics. I can get into powers. I can do many things, and there's also a lot of stuff I can ignore. So No Man's Sky, I'd probably get it, but not at €60. But just, waiting game. No Man's Sky. I've had it. It's a good game, and I'm gonna buy it when I'm ready. Next, I've been playing my Spectrum, my ZX Spectrum. I bought this because my neighbor Roy had this, and he gave it to me for my birthday once. To play with for a week. He gave it to me as a present. Ta-da! I was unwrapping it thinking, oh my God, I'm getting a Spectrum. He said, well, you can borrow it for a week. Shit. So I played with it for a week, and then I never saw it again. But there's so many people who are in love with this machine, so I bought it. I recapped it. There are videos about that. And then I tried to play games on it, naturally. I've got a Kempston interface, so I can put a joystick in it. And then when I went to Manchester and to see Giles, he gave me his ZX81 and this tape recorder, which I used to load games on it. But it wouldn't work. and no matter what I did, play with the volume up and down, left and right, and I tried. I even tried a guitar amp, which kind of worked for one game. I tried my PC. I tried converting tape files to WAV, and none of it would work. So in the end, I just gave up. But last week, I decided to have another look at it because Jal said I never really cleaned it. He changed the belts in it, but he never cleaned it. So I cleaned the heads, which I'd done before, but I also cleaned the pinch roller. And that's a little rubber kind of wheel that I think it controls the speed. Because if I played my ABBA tape in it, it would be all warbly, and I couldn't really understand what they were singing. But after I cleaned the pinch roller, it became clearer. So I thought, well, what if I try a game now? So I played all of these games. They all load. They all load now. I can just put it in. And I can play a game on my PC while it's loading, and I keep an eye on the loading screen. So I've played Jet Set Willy 2, which is a nice game, although I can't get past the first level, I suppose. I've picked up all the items, but there's probably something I have to do before I can get past the lady in the bedroom. I played Jetpack. I bought this game on Commodore 64. Jetpack EX, but this is the original, and it's just as good. This is a good game. BMX, which is actually advertised as good as on the C64. It's it says on the inside. BMX Simulator. I played this on a Commodore. I played it on the Spectrum. Really good game. I played Arcadia. Now, this makes me feel sorry for the people who had a ZX Spectrum because it's a really bad game. I couldn't get to grips with the keyboard controls there. And this is Hungry Horse. Now, a game that I've heard of. And now that I've played it, sort of the ZX Spectrum Pac-Man version with keys and everything, you can't play Pac-Man with key. It's a horrible game. Horrible Horse. That's what they could have called it. And I got a stack more. I got Psst. And I got Pinball Wizard and Flight Simulators, and so I'm anxious to actually get some new Spectrum games and play them on the thing. And I still want an SD solution for it, but I'll get it someday. Zen. I got a stack of cassettes there. They're either really bad games or they are Commodore tapes, which I don't... Not even for nostalgic reasons would I ever put a tape in a Commodore. I did that. And before I had a disk drive, that was all that I had. And we did that. And we had the notebook with all the counter numbers, and I did that. And I never want to do it again. So the tapes, it's still cool to own them, but I'm not going to play them. I can play all the Commodore games on the Ultimate cartridge, and no one's going to care about copyright. And here's the big finale. I wanted to do some extra research, but I didn't. My brother had this. Now, my brother couldn't have cared less about video games, but he had this. He had this, and he wouldn't allow me to play on it, so I played it secretly when he wasn't around, and I'd get so immersed in it that I wouldn't hear him come in the house, and he'd catch me. But he had this, so I wanted to buy this again, and I did. And I must say that it's in bad shape. It's got all kinds of scratches, but they look like they've been, like it's molten. But I don't know what would make like thin. It's like it's been used as a little table to do soldering on. This is an iron or something. I don't know what happened to it, but nonetheless, it works. I'll let you hear the little tune. Look at that. And then it works perfectly. It has a little joystick. It has two game modes. The thing is, I think this is a Bandai machine. But this is a Gakken. I know that my brother had the Gakken version as well. I assume that this is just the maybe the European or the worldwide release of the Bandai game. It's an LSI game, so this is not a liquid crystal display, but like the little tubes. I don't know how this works, but I think the LSI says something about the way the display is built. But I finally have this. I paid €30 for it, which is a normal price. Although for that price I could have gotten a better looking one, but I don't really care. It plays the game perfectly, so that's all I really care about. It's got two game modes. The maze changes. It runs on batteries. It runs on 4. I think these are C cells, the big ones, and it also takes a DC input here, but strangely enough, it doesn't say on the machine itself what the specs are. But I know it's 300 milliamps. What I guess 4 times 1.5 volts, 6 volts, something like that. So and well, the orientation of the plus and minus. I found it on the internet, but I'm really happy to have this. This is. I have it sitting here, and whenever I have to wait for anything on the PC to happen, I just take out this boy and I play a little Puck Monster. Huh? How about that? Alright. Oh! Here's another thing. If you're bored and you don't know what to get, I found a copy of Overlord 2 for the 360. This is a very funny game. In Overlord, you control like your minions who are really funny, who are chatting all the time, and you have to control them. You have to send them out to do stuff on the screen, to gather life energy, or to break a bridge, or to walk in a path that you can't go. And you are their overlord, and you have to do things. I don't know. I don't even. All I've seen until now is like you create a lot of mayhem and destroy stuff. But it's a funny game, Overlord. And this is Overlord 2. There are several versions of this game. I advise it. Anyway, it's almost 20 minutes. I got 1 minute and 38 seconds to go on the battery. I'm going to say goodbye, and I will see you in another video. I have not stopped my supernatural coding videos, but after the holidays, there's just been too much stuff going on. But I will get back into that and finish it. We're at part 16. We're gonna do scores and put the level information and everything on the screen. It's gonna be good. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.